Well, a big hello to everyone that is tuning in to listen to today's Splat Chat. Doing things a little bit different this year, and today we'll be speaking with Carly Saunders. She is an incredible technology teacher. She's also the co-founder of the Happiness Mission and Teacher Professional Development Australia with her equally amazing partner, Tresnay. So we can't wait to have a chat. It's quick. And hopefully we'll touch on a few key points that may give you a bit of inspiration for the classroom. Let's do it.
All right, I'm so excited about asking you these questions, Carly. So it's great to have you with us today. How you feeling?
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So good. All right, we're going to hit you with a really quick chat. Firstly, I need to ask you, why do you love teaching design?
I love teaching design because I like watching the little cogs tick over, and I like watching them open their minds. And I think design's a really good way to teach empathy as well, particularly if you use like the design thinking process, because that whole empathize first step. And I think our little cherubs are, lacking a little bit of empathy because their faces are constantly in phones these days. So it's nice to teach them something that gets them out of their own head. I really love that about it.
Okay, that's awesome. And so where do you find inspiration for the classroom?
I love talking to other teachers. I get a lot out of talking to my little team of teachers. I also love looking at other people's designs, and I love being in nature. That really inspires me, and experiences. So where I've had an experience where it's been good or bad, that can always alter my designing as well, because I'll think, could that be easier, or could that be slightly different? So I think the more experiences you can get, the better. And I know it's tricky at the moment because we can't travel and things like that, because that's a great mind opener. But we can still notice things within our environment, which really do, just a butterfly or a nice garden, or all those kinds of things inspire me. So
yeah, it's definitely in the detail, isn't it? It's in the tiny elements. It's just amazing what can inspire you. So are you STEM or STEAM? This is the big question,
I'm STEAM. I'm a STEAM girl.
All the way, baby. I love it. Now, do you have a passion for one of the letters? So
I do.
Yes.
I love A. I love the art, but I'm a big fan of engineering too. But I think it's because I have this value of appreciation of beauty. Like, art is always just something interesting to look at. I think I'm more driven towards the art side of things, but I'm curious about the engineering side. So both of those are my favorite.
Yeah, I think mine too, in that sense that it's the aesthetic and the appeal and what attracts people to products, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fascination. But then also it's got to function, right? And so you want to know the parts of it actually work. So I be the same. And what is your best-selling resource? So what resource have you designed that is absolutely you can say, yeah, that was the one?
So I think our key terms posters are our bestseller because of necessity, but very, very closely behind is our elements and principles of design posters and factors affecting design posters. They are probably our highest seller, but I suppose it differs depending on what teachers are actually teaching in that point in time. So yeah, it varies, but our all-time bestseller is our key terms poster pack. So I think it's just because there's really not a lot out there in terms of how we can get the best out of our kids literacy wise as well.
Yeah. The vocab's so important. Yeah, absolutely. And to have that visually represented around the room, that's another high five. And so what do you find that you struggle with the most when teaching design thinking to teachers or students? Where's that gap for you?
The challenging point for us, I think, would be the words "I can't," because sometimes you'll give teachers or students a brief and they'll think, I don't know, I can't think of anything. And I think that's because creativity is born out of boredom, and we don't get bored anymore, because every little 2 seconds of time, we have a smartphone in our pocket where we can Google whatever we like. And so we don't have time to let our brain just flow. And I think some of my best ideas actually come up out in the shower when I don't have any distractions. It's just me in the shower, you know. And so I think the words I can't, and I think I really enjoy using like mind tools like Scamper to really get people thinking outside, like giving them a bit more direction, just so that they can actually get their head around, all right, maybe I can do an element of this. I think sometimes if you give them a big problem or a big like design brief, they can be a little bit stifled and be like, oh, it's too broad. So that's why I really love using tools like Scamper in the classroom, because they think, oh yeah, well, I could substitute this, I could modify this, you know, I could adapt this. That tends to get them out of their shell a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the teachers out there that haven't heard of Scamper, it's an acronym. So it's a really great strategy to use in the classroom. So if you've got any questions, you can DM us about that. But absolutely a great strategy and just to really mix it up. And what you're saying is so true. You know, design and some of the best designs come about because of limitations. And I talk about this a lot. Sometimes students find it really overwhelming when they're just like set with this, you know, design anything sort of scenario in different contexts. So yeah, working on those limitations is actually something that really strengthens the design muscle. And it's not limiting the students, because there's a really fine balance between that crazy out of town thinking, which you can do in a limited situation, and just, you know, having a free for all design anything. So I just love the limitations that you can apply, and it can make it a lot of fun. Hey. Like,
yes.
I think sometimes they're tweaking that and then making it more challenging is what gives it a lot of fun. And maybe scaling down the design so it's much smaller and limited, you know, because it just requires a different type of thinking, I think.
Yeah, I think sometimes constraints are great for design briefs. And I also think that we need to keep empowering kids to keep thinking, like keep designing and keep doing design thinking, because it does open just a different part of your brain that they don't get in other areas of their schooling. And I think I always say to my cherubs, you know, just it's in there, the idea's in there, you just got to coax it out. You know, it's not going to just come to the surface because it's something brilliant and you've got to really work for it, you know. So, and that's why I love the Splat, because you can actually design straight away. Like anyone can draw when they have that in their hands. So it's good to just get ideas down on paper, and sometimes just the act of drawing will bring about another part of an idea, and you go, oh, but what if it had this, or what if it had that? So I think,
it's definitely the representation. It's so powerful, and I think valuing that thinking on paper needs to be something that we encourage our students to do more. I mean, we spend so much time crafting their literacy and their ability to, you know, write the alphabet, their A, B's, you know, when they're so little. But encouraging those hand skills to actually represent their ideas too. So I love that. And I love that I'm seeing so many splats used in classrooms, and we're hearing from amazing teachers. It's fabulous.
And hanging on the end of teachers' lanyards. I love it.
I'm doing that lanyards now. And so you talk about the design process. So the design process basically that you're referring to, could you just explain which design process that you use?
Yeah, so it really depends on what year I'm teaching. If I've got mandatory tech, I have to use the design and production process, which really doesn't differ all that much from the design process. But if it came down to, you know, let's say, for example, we were designing something and it was just for a project that we were working on for Minister's Young Designer Awards, or something where there wasn't a specified design process, I love the design thinking process. I just like that it's got that empathize element. It makes a difference, because kids don't always get an opportunity to walk in someone else's shoes. And I just think it's nice for them to get out of their own sort of headspace, because it's nice for them to know that other people think differently.
Absolutely. And there's, you know, differences in terms of what people need culturally, and there's so many differences that sort of live beneath the surface. You know, you've really got to scratch for it. And, you know, empathy is such a higher order skill. And so,
Absolutely.
you know, continually scaffolding that and revisiting it. I think, you know, the World Kindness Day is about to come up soon. And, you know, that is an amazing way to exercise that muscle and then see it as it could be applied to design. You know, it might be redesigning a friendship seat at school, and you know, having that empathy stage, I just hands down is so important, because the more you can relate to someone when you make a product, the more joy you bring them, the more happiness you're going to fill them with, because it, you know, it works or it fits their needs. So I'm high five to that as well. Love that.
Yeah, it's definitely a snowball effect. Like, and we actually just, we've made a product, Random Acts of Kindness Challenge, which is a free resource that we're giving out on TPD. And like, it's just interesting because when you do something good for somebody, then they feel good, but you feel good too. It's like a snowball effect. Like, it's just fantastic because everybody wins, you know, and there's not many opportunities where everyone wins. So
yeah, I absolutely love it. I agree. And you see this sparkle in the kids' eyes too. Like, they absolutely love it. So I guess that answers the question in terms of your favorite part of the design process, because that was one of the questions I had. So I don't need to ask that one.
I do love a bit of idea generation too.
Like, ideation. Yeah, definitely. And so you touched on the Splat before. So obviously I'm assuming from that comment that you do make your students draw before you give them resources. That's something
low tech all the way before they actually begin. You need to get it out on paper, like, and that is what sort of solidifies the idea, because how you think about it in your head may not be possible, or you could potentially adapt to it, or it could be even better. Getting it on paper then helps you to sort of explain your idea and get feedback on it. And I think feedback's really important in the design process. Like, part of that peer evaluation could be drawing it out on the paper and going, you could be sitting with a friend and they could actually say, well, how would that work? Like, can you explain how that would work? And you can draw it so much easier a lot of the time than you can explain it, I find.
I think that's true. I think often too, you come across a lot of teachers like me at the start, you know, where it was like, oh, I have to draw this. I have to role model in front of the class. You know, that's what sort of set me off. Like, I could, you know, draw a butterfly with kindergarten and my art schools, but the difference in actually drawing when it comes to design, you know, was so confronting for me, and standing out the front and feeling like I could fail. So I think a lot of teachers, you know, hopefully they're finding some of our resources helpful too, because we're really trying to take away that so that they do encourage their students to draw more and visualize their ideas more, because like you, it is just so important to see that thinking on paper, especially before you give them materials. And then, you know, because it can
then
be very frustrating.
Sort of like, you know, it's the whole, you know, measure once, measure twice, cut once. You know, like, it's a similar thing when you're giving them materials. They need to have an idea in their head, like, before they actually start to make it. And I think, like, one thing that I love about Splat, and also the design kits that you have created to go with Splat, is when we came out of design technology, like uni, you know, and you said, okay, now I'm a design technology teacher, now go and stand in front of that board and do an isometric drawing. And yeah, it's daunting because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to get this right. And that's why the Splat's so empowering, because you can do isometric drawing like this with a Splat, you know, and anyone can, like little cherubs can. So I just think it's an empowering tool for a design teacher and for a design student.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know you've been right there from the start, so that's just lovely.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see how far you guys have come. It's really a huge feat, you know, and I think you're doing wonders for the world. Like,
thank you. Thank you. We start our new 5 for Design project next week, which is another free resource on YouTube. So that hopefully will help teachers too and
amazing.
Students. I was really excited about that. And what I've just got to get Glenn in front of the camera. Glenny D is a little bit camera shy, folks. So we're
I don't know why. He's such a handsome man.
He's got so much charisma. All right. So then the last few questions are: do you assess the process?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is so cool. So you assess the process as well as the product.
Yes. And you know what? Sometimes the students can actually achieve, you know, better results with a failed project you know, but their process has been so explicit, and they've been able to explain why things have gone wrong. And it almost doesn't matter that the product failed because they can see where it could be improved.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I actually love that. Giving them a chance to actually succeed at a project, even though their final prototype may not technically function the way they thought. But it is that is absolutely a great statement. And I think that's one that we need to encourage with our teachers. It's not the end, it's the journey and what they're developing.
And absolutely, it's going to sort of instill that fail forward mentality. Like, yeah, okay, maybe that element didn't work, but you can see where you can pick up and fix that. And maybe you don't have time to do it in this project, but what are you going to implement for the following project? You know, where can you learn? So I think absolutely the process.
Okay, so I've just got, so I've got 2 more questions, which I could talk to you all day, like, honestly. So one of the last ones is that how on earth do you motivate students to pack up the makerspace? Like, isn't it? It's so many teachers are left with such a mess. So have you got any tips? Is there
anything that can make it a game? I think if we can gamify it, I'll gamify it. So floor is lava, you know. You've got to save every element that's on the floor quickly. The floor is lava. It's going to burn down. We've got to get it all off the floor. And then even little things like prizes for cherubs who are quick but also are doing it properly. Putting things in the correct boxes. Let's get it organized. And also we have to be very mindful of the time, because sometimes you can be so excited during a lesson and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, you know, it's 2 minutes to the bell. So it's almost like we need a pre-bell, you know.
I know. And then we have guilt, right? We have like teacher guilt, like, oh, I haven't finished the time. And so really, I just have to let them go.
I know. So, and then you're on your hands and knees picking up bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But I think, variety of game ideas works, and also just being mindful of the time, which is an awful thing to have to be mindful of. But alarm or something, you know.
That's the life of a teacher, isn't it? The limitations of school. And I just really want to also just ask you about TPD and what advice you'd have. So TPD is actually short for Teacher Professional Development, which is Carly and Tresnay's website, which is phenomenal. Really supporting teachers and students to access quality resources that are linked to the curriculum. Now, teachers can also sell their resources on there. So this is what I find amazing, even courses. And
absolutely.
I just wanted you to maybe give a tip to a teacher that's interested in doing something like that and having a bit of a side hustle, because we hear so much about teachers.
Teacherpreneurs.
Yeah, teacherpreneurs and different marketplaces. But what I love about yours is that you can actually sell courses. So I have actually had an online course on your...
You have had a very successful couple of online courses.
And I just think that, you know, there's enough to share. So sharing is caring. Yes. So can you please just finish up with just letting teachers know the opportunities there to work with you?
Well, my thoughts are that a lot of the times I think teachers are very humble and they don't realise that they have their experiences have created a different set of skills, and sharing that with other teachers is so valuable. Particularly, it always breaks my heart when teachers retire and you think, oh my gosh, the amount of knowledge that's walking out the door right now. So I think it's important for us to sort of help teachers, fellow teachers just like us, and also the younger generation of teachers who are coming through with our knowledge and with our skills, because you might not think it's valuable, but to someone else, it could be a lifesaver. And I think teachers are so overworked that it's such an important thing to be able to try and take something off a teacher's plate. And you're making your own resources and you're going to give them to the kids, and you have real feedback, like the kids either liked it or they didn't like it, or you could tweak it somehow. Why not put that up and sell it and benefit somebody else and in a whole nother classroom? And I think that sort of, it spreads your impact, because you're not just impacting your own classroom, you're impacting untold amount of classrooms, because you don't know who's going to pick that up and what value it's going to promote. And we get such beautiful feedback from our teachers about how a resource or a course has made a huge difference in their own classroom. And I just want more teachers to feel that, because it's such a nice feeling to be able to help more than just your own little, classroom of kids, like just to spread it wider. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it's almost like a professional learning network. Only a day or two ago, I got an email from someone that had actually done one of our courses like 18 months ago, through TPD, one of our courses. And, they wanted some more splats. They'd changed schools and, they'd reached out to us, and it was so good to hear from them. And to have that wider network, because when you actually do PD like face to face, or you're in online chat, like you said, it's the inspiration and encouragement that you get from other teachers. Nobody knows what it's like to teach in that classroom under those pressures than other teachers.
Absolutely.
And so it's just a lot of the advice and stuff you get is bang on. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, and love that you've taken the time to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Love that this resource is out there for teachers, and even for myself, and having the opportunity to share our resources with, the wider teaching community. So big thank you and gratitude to you and Tresnay.
And thank you to you too. We absolutely love your stuff, and our teachers love your stuff. Keep it coming. We can't get enough of thank you so much, and thank you for having me today. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and we need to catch up more.
I know, absolutely. Okay, love to the team. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
See you later, Kyles.
Bye.
Bye.